Brian Okwara and Sonia Uche story that had everyone picking sides. My beloved viewers. Have you ever had that sinking feeling when you're scrolling through social media and suddenly see your partner's name attached to someone else's? Your stomach drops, your heart races, and even though you tell yourself it's probably nothing, your brain starts creating entire scenarios that didn't happen. Now imagine that feeling, except it's not just you seeing it, it's thousands, maybe millions of people discussing it, analyzing it, making memes about it, and declaring with absolute certainty that they know what's happening in your relationship better than you do. This is exactly what happened to Brian Okwara when the internet decided that Sonia Uche and Maurice Sam were more than just professional colleagues. What started as innocent online interactions between two entertainers somehow transformed into a full-blown relationship controversy that had fans, bloggers, and gossip channels working overtime. Screenshots were dissected like ancient scrolls. Fan edits appeared with romantic music and slow-motion clips. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. And somewhere in the middle of all this digital chaos stood Brian Okwara, watching the woman he loved being publicly paired with another man while strangers debated whether he was about to be replaced. The thing about social media rumors is they don't just exist in some abstract digital space, they seep into your real life, infiltrating your thoughts during quiet moments and whispering doubts when you're trying to sleep. Brian found himself doing something completely out of character, withdrawing from social media entirely. The silence was noticed. Fans who had followed his online presence suddenly saw the absence and, because the internet loves a narrative, interpreted his silence as confirmation that something was wrong. The speculation intensified. People who had never met Brian, Sonia, or Maurice felt completely entitled to analyze every detail, every interaction, every photo, searching for clues like amateur detectives solving a case that didn't actually exist. Meanwhile, Sonia's professional chemistry with Maurice Sam, the kind that makes for compelling on-screen performances, was being repackaged as evidence of romantic involvement. Every smile was suspicious. Every collaborative post was proof. The public had decided what the story was, and no amount of reality was going to interfere with their chosen narrative. What makes this situation particularly brutal is that Brian wasn't just dealing with rumors. He was wrestling with something far more painful, the fear of emotional replacement. It's one thing to logically know that your partner works with attractive, talented people. It's entirely another to watch the entire internet ship them together, create couple names, and discuss their chemistry like it's a done deal. Brian's struggle wasn't rooted in jealousy in the traditional sense. It was about feeling like he was watching his relationship being rewritten in real time by people who had no stake in its success or failure. The constant pairing of Sonia and Maurice online didn't just annoy him, it shook his confidence and made him question things he thought were solid. He tried ignoring it at first, because what else do you do when strangers are creating fan fiction about your actual life? But emotional pressure doesn't respect logic, and eventually, the noise became too loud to dismiss. The question started creeping in during moments when Brian's guard was down. Was Sonia still emotionally present, or had something shifted without him knowing? Were those just professional interactions, or was there something the cameras weren't catching? The public nature of the speculation added another layer of humiliation because it meant his private fears were now community discussion topics. People were analyzing his relationship in comment sections while eating breakfast, debating whether Sonia's feelings had changed like they were discussing a reality show plot twist. This wasn't just about trust between two people anymore, it had become a public spectacle where Brian's emotional security was entertainment for thousands. And here's the thing that the internet often forgets, these are real people with real feelings, not characters in a drama series that conveniently wraps up in 60 minutes. Brian made a choice that deserves more credit than it probably got. He chose communication over silence. Instead of letting resentment build or making passive-aggressive posts or ghosting Sonia emotionally, he decided to have an actual conversation. Think about how rare that is, especially in an era where people would rather subtweet than speak directly. The confrontation wasn't explosive or dramatic in the traditional sense. There were no thrown objects or screaming matches. Instead, it was calm but emotionally intense, the kind of conversation where every word carries weight because both people know this moment matters. Brian's vulnerability during that conversation cut through the usual masculine stoicism we're taught to expect. He didn't posture or pretend he was unaffected. He admitted that the rumors made him feel replaceable, that seeing her name constantly linked with Morris's had unsettled something fundamental in him, and that he needed clarity more than he needed comfort. When Brian asked Sonia directly whether she still loved him or had developed feelings for Maurice Sam, he wasn't being controlling or insecure in some toxic way, he was exercising self-respect. There's a difference between jealous interrogation and genuinely needing to know where you stand. Brian made it clear that he preferred painful truth over comfortable uncertainty, which is actually one of the most mature approaches to relationship confusion. He wasn't trying to trap her or create drama, he was trying to understand whether the foundation he thought they had was still solid or if it had quietly crumbled while everyone else watched and commented. That question took courage because it risked an answer he didn't want to hear, but sometimes you have to risk heartbreak to avoid living in limbo. Sonia's response addressed both Brian's fears and the larger insanity of how social media operates. She denied any romantic involvement with Maurice Sam's family and emotionally, explaining what should be obvious but apparently needs constant clarification. Professional collaborations don't automatically equal romantic feelings. The entertainment industry requires chemistry, requires comfort between colleagues, requires interactions that translate well on screen. Fans watching from the outside see those interactions stripped of context and fill in the blanks with their own narratives, creating entire relationship arcs from literally nothing. Sonia reassured Brian that her love for him was real, unchanged, and completely separate from whatever stories the internet was spinning. She emphasized that no amount of fan shipping, gossip blog speculation, or trending topics could replace what she and Brian actually shared in private, away from cameras and comment sections. But Sonia also used this moment to highlight something that women in entertainment face constantly, the impossible scrutiny and unfair judgment that comes with being female and visible. Every action is interpreted through this lens of romantic availability or loyalty questions. If you're friendly with a male colleague, you must be interested. If you have on-screen chemistry, you must be involved. If you smile in a photo, you must be sending signals. The double standard is exhausting because male entertainers rarely face the same relationship speculation for simply doing their jobs. Sonia's frustration wasn't just about this particular rumor, it was about the pattern, the relentless pressure to perform emotions and relationships for public consumption while somehow maintaining privacy and authenticity. Women are expected to be warm and engaging but not too warm, professional but not too friendly, charismatic but not flirtatious, and if you fail to navigate that impossible balance perfectly, the internet will let you know. Even after Sonia's reassurances, Brian admitted something that resonates with anyone who's been hurt by public narratives: the emotional damage doesn't just disappear because you had one good conversation. Those online edits comparing him to Maurice, those comments suggesting Sonia had upgraded, those fan theories about timelines and secret relationships, all of that had triggered insecurity and self-doubt that couldn't be erased instantly. This is the real cost of internet-driven drama that people rarely discuss. We treat these situations like entertainment, create reaction videos, pick sides, and debate outcomes like it's sports. But for the people actually living through it, there's genuine pain that lingers even after the truth comes out. Brian was dealing with psychological wounds inflicted by thousands of strangers who felt entitled to comment on his worth and his relationship status. Maurice Sam's silence throughout this entire situation is interesting and added yet another dimension to the controversy. He didn't address the rumors, didn't defend himself, didn't clarify anything publicly. Some fans interpreted his silence as guilt or confirmation that something was happening. Others saw it as professionalism, refusing to dignify baseless speculation with a response. His absence from the narrative didn't stop the narrative, it just meant people filled in that blank space with whatever theory fit their preferred version of events. This demonstrates how silence in the social media age is never just silence, it's interpreted, analyzed, and turned into evidence for whatever conclusion people want to reach. You can speak and be misunderstood, or stay silent and be misunderstood. There's no winning move when the internet has decided you're part of a story. After their conversation, Brian and Sonia made a pact to reduce their attention to social media noise and prioritize honest communication and emotional reassurance between themselves. This sounds simple but represents a massive shift in how they engage with public perception. Instead of trying to manage every rumor or respond to every speculation, they chose to invest their energy in their actual relationship rather than its public image. Of course, this didn't stop the speculation. Reaction videos kept coming. Blogs continued publishing theories. Fans still debated who was at fault. Was it Sonia for being too friendly with Maurice? Was it Brian for being insecure? Was it Maurice for not shutting down rumors? Was it social media culture itself for creating storms from nothing? Everyone had an opinion, and those opinions kept circulating long after the people actually involved had moved on. This entire situation sparked broader conversations about trust, emotional boundaries, and how public pressure affects private relationships. Can love actually survive when it's constantly being analyzed, questioned, and rewritten by strangers? How do you maintain intimacy when your relationship is community property that everyone feels entitled to comment on? The story of Brian and Sonia illustrates how fragile connection becomes under relentless scrutiny. They appear to choose each other despite the noise, which is beautiful, but the fact that choosing each other required conscious effort to ignore thousands of voices saying otherwise reveals how toxic the environment has become. Brian's vulnerability throughout this, his willingness to admit he was hurt, to ask hard questions, to communicate openly rather than withdrawing, challenged the cultural expectation that men should be emotionally invulnerable and unbothered. His honesty made space for other people to acknowledge that public speculation actually affects you, even when you know it's baseless. For Sonia, this experience reinforced that sometimes love requires active defense against false narratives. It's not enough to know the truth privately. When rumors threaten your relationship stability, you have to speak up, reassure, and actively counter the lies with reality. This shouldn't be necessary, but it is, because we live in a world where perception often matters more than truth. The audience watching this unfold got a reminder, though many probably ignored it, that behind every trending story, every gossip headline, every fan theory, there are real emotions and real pain. These aren't characters you can ship and unship based on your entertainment preferences. They're people trying to build something meaningful while you watch and comment from the safety of your screen. The central question this story raises remains unanswered and maybe unanswerable. Can love truly survive social media noise, or will the constant external pressure eventually crack even the strongest foundations? Brian and Sonia are still writing that answer, and it's being written in private moments that won't trend, in conversations that won't be screenshot, in choices that won't get reaction videos. The outcome isn't determined by public opinion polls or fan votes, it's determined by time, commitment, and whether two people can build something strong enough to withstand being everyone's business. This story serves as a cautionary tale about the real emotional cost of internet-driven narratives, about how we've normalized treating other people's relationships like spectator sports, and about how casually we can inflict pain while seeking entertainment. What happened between Brian Okwara and Sonia Uche is still happening to countless people in varying degrees of visibility. Maybe you're not a celebrity, but perhaps you've had friends or family speculate about your relationship, or exes who try to insert themselves into narratives, or social circles that felt entitled to weigh in on private decisions. The mechanics are the same, just the scale changes. We are all navigating this new reality where privacy is increasingly impossible and where every connection can become content for someone else's consumption. Brian and Sonia's story matters because it forces us to confront our role in these situations. Are we contributing to the noise? Are we respecting boundaries? Are we remembering that our entertainment is someone else's actual life? So here's what I want to know. Have you ever been affected by rumors or public speculation about your relationship, and how did you handle it? Do you think Brian was right to confront the situation directly, or should he have ignored it completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation matters beyond just celebrity gossip. It's about how we treat each other in an age where everything is public and everyone has opinions. If this breakdown gave you a different perspective on the Brian Sonia situation or made you think twice about participating in relationship speculation online, share this with someone who needs that reminder. Let's start being more conscious about the real human cost of the stories we consume and spread. Hit that like button if you appreciated the deeper dive, subscribe for more content that goes beyond surface level gossip, and let me know what celebrity relationship drama you want me to unpack next. Real people, real emotions, real consequences, let's not forget that.